Do you want to flip a house for profit? Do you want to know what the extra expenses are when it comes to flipping property? I'm Todd Sloan, and in this video, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. First things first, if you're buying in Australia, you're going to be paying stamp duty. Now, depending on what state you're buying in and what your purchase price is going to be how much that varies. Currently, Queensland is actually the cheapest state for stamp duty. If you're getting average house in the Brisbane area for around the sort of $500,000 mark, you're looking around $10,000 in stamp duty. Whereas if you're spending around the $500,000 mark in Adelaide, you're going to be looking at more like $25,000 in stamp duties. So that's actually really going to depend on what you're buying and where you are. Now, if you're going to be holding the property or flipping it, you're going to be incurring stamp duty anyway, but it's just something that you really want to make sure you bargain on in your budget. Next up is commission and marketing. If you're going to be flipping the property, you're going to be using a sales agent, and you're going to need to pay for things like government searches, your marketing, and your commissions. So all of those can add up. Now, again, depending on where the property is located and how much the property is worth is really going to be depending on how much you're actually paying here. You might be paying around $10,000 for these fees. If you're in the entry level of the market, you could be paying all the way up to $50,000 or even $100,000 if you're in the topper levels of the market. So make sure you engage a sales agent before you actually start the renovation. Not only are you going to have a better understanding of what your numbers are actually going to be, but you can also start actually picking their brains as to what the market really wants in that area. Now, even if you really feel you know the market, sometimes seeing from a sales agent's point of view can actually help big time. From maybe a couple little things you might overlook as, yeah, I was thinking about doing those, could actually be deal breakers through a buyer's eyes. Make sure you talk to a sales agent before you start the renovation and also get the numbers down pat to help with your budget. Next up, we've got CGT, otherwise known as capital gains tax. Now, this has to be one of the least loved taxes. Actually, no taxes are loved. They're all pretty much hated, but they're a necessary evil to keep things going, but we still want to avoid them and make them as minimum as possible, okay? So as far as your taxes are concerned, when you're flipping a property, you will incur CGT, unless it's a property which is known as your PPOR, which is your primary place of residence, which isn't really a flip the same way, or a property that you've held since September 20th, 1985, which again, doesn't really fall under the flipping category, but nonetheless, just to give you a couple of quick facts, the big thing that I want to stress here is talk to your accountant before you buy the property. Sit down and chat with them, because the amount of CGT you're actually going to pay is going to vary on your personal income. So you want to make sure you get in front of an accountant, get the right numbers, so you can bargain on exactly what's going to be getting paid to the tax man after you've sold the property and collected your profit. Another expense is conveyancing and legal fees. Now, again, depending on where you are in the country, it's going to depend on how much this one costs you. Now, if you were buying to hold long-term, you're going to be having an entry fee of that anyway. But if you're buying to flip and turn everything around quickly, well, then you're going to have an entry and an exit fee pretty soon after. In places like South Australia, generally a conveyancer will run you anywhere between $800 to $1,200. However, if you're over in the eastern states, you could be looking anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000 to get your legals done. So again, just make sure you dot your I's, cross your T's, and know what you're going to be up for as far as your legal cost to enter and exit the deal. Another cost to consider is your loan setup cost. Now, this might be zero for you depending on your history with the banks, or it might be a few hundred, even up to $1,000. Again, it's just about being aware. So if you're going to go directly to the bank or a broker, make sure you ask, what is my loan setup cost? I'd really say you're better off going to a broker, and I've got a couple other videos explaining why. I've actually got a whole chapter in a book explaining why I think a broker is a better idea, but really for you, it's just about making sure that you understand what it's actually going to cost when you're setting up the loan, whether it's directly to the bank or through the broker. And lastly, and most importantly, your renovation budget. Now, I actually wasn't going to say this because I thought it was obvious, but I want to include it in here because it's not so much about is there a budget, isn't there a budget? Of course there's going to be renovation expenses, but it's about the diligence and following that budget and actually understanding it before you commit to the sale. I've seen plenty of people in the past think it's going to cost them, let's say $20,000 or $100,000 to renovate a property, and then that quickly doubles to $40,000 or $200,000. And then all of a sudden, all that profit that you're going to make just gets sucked up and you've just made someone a beautiful home, which, I mean, good on you. It's a lovely thing to do, but it's not really the point of doing this. So make sure you do your budget really diligently to begin with. Leaving yourself a little bit of a buffer is going to ensure that you've got more fat in the deal later if something unexpected does come your way. That's it. Those are the 6 main costs that you're going to incur when you're flipping a property. While some of them are going to be incurred whether you're flipping it or not, make sure you take all of them into account when you're putting together your flipping budget. You sound like Alf Stewart. If you've got any questions at all, get in touch via our Facebook page, Pizza and Property, or if you want to leave something in the comments below. I'd actually love to hear the story of your first renovation. Was it a flip? Was it a flop? What kind of experience was it? Just tell us. I always love to hear this. Jack and I try and get back to every single comment that we can. And as always, guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, click the bell notification so you've got every single one of our videos coming to you straight away as soon as we've uploaded. Thanks a lot, guys, and have yourself an amazing week.